Welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another pro-revenge Reddit video. In our first story, party every night for a year? Okay, let's jump right in. I went to school in California in the 90s. 4 years ago, I bought a house in a quiet neighborhood. I had wanted to get into that neighborhood for years as it was a good neighborhood, it was a couple of blocks from my kids' school, and my best friend also lives in that neighborhood. Then COVID hit. At the beginning of the pandemic, before the eviction moratorium was in place, my neighbors across the street were forced to move. It was really sad for us because they were really good neighbors. We were friendly with each other, and so we were really sad to see them go. So when the property owner rented to a new family, we were hoping we could cultivate a friendly relationship with them. Unfortunately, that was not the case. About a month after they moved in across the street, the lockdown started, and that's when things went from 0 to 100 real quick. For the next year, every night they had a huge party. There were cars parked all the way down the street. There was music so loud you could hear it over regular house noise in every room in my house. My friend who lived in the next cul-de-sac would text me regularly to ask if the music he was hearing was from my neighbors. Initially, we tried to be civil. I asked them politely to be more considerate to us. I brought them beer. I offered some killer 420 to try to bribe them into stopping. Eventually, they threatened me and my wife, so the gloves came off. We started calling the police, which was something we had to do every night for 4 months. We organized with our other neighbors, and they started calling the police as well. Eventually, our other neighbors gave up and started selling their houses because the renters were just that bad. We were still upside down on our place, so that wasn't an option for us. All we could do was to continue to call the police and hope they would stop them. Eventually, the police told me that I needed to stop calling and that it wasn't their issue to deal with. They told us that I was a bigger nuisance than the renters' music. One officer said, "Look, folks are trying to blow off steam. Some folks are beating their wives and children. These guys are just having parties. We have bigger issues to worry about." Not wrong, but also not right. By that time, the housing market had recovered and was even taken off. Houses were selling in my area for $40,000 to $50,000 over the appraisal value. My wife and I sat down to do the math and worked out what we needed to sell our house for so that we could move, and that is what we listed our home for. It was such a strong market that within 3 days, we had a handful of obscene offers to choose from, but it was the lowest offer that stood out to us the most. Their offer was a good $20,000 under the next lowest bid, but they sent us a letter along with their offer. I'm a sucker for a letter, especially one with a picture of a young couple with a pregnant wife and a dog and a patrol car. It turned out the young man was a police officer who was newly appointed to our local police department, and he takes his patrol car home. At that point, I knew that this was the family we were going to sell our house to, money be damned. Mind you, we still got plenty of money from the deal. The market was insane, and honestly, I met the folks in the old place. They are super nice folks who couldn't catch a break with all the investors snatching up land and houses. As we were moving out, our neighbors were throwing another one of their huge parties. The next day, the police moved in, and they haven't had another one since. I drive by regularly on my way to my buddy's place. They just sit quietly in their garage looking bored. I make sure I honk and wave every time I go by. Story number 2, Dirty, Dirty Little Lunch Thief. English is not my first language and I type this on my phone, so take it easy on me. In the past, I have read about dirty, dirty little office lunch thieves and have wanted to share my story, but I had too many other things going on to post it. Now is the time. This took place back when I was still a teen, fresh out of university, working directly under an engineer at a construction firm. I'd also like to add, I know I was 100% a diversity hire. Asian, with English as a second language, young, and a woman. They have a quota on hiring us minorities, and you might as well check as many boxes as you can. The office I was doing my 4,000 hours in was fairly large, 5 floors of a large office building. This construction firm was based in Toronto. Well, I was lazy, and the last thing I wanted to do before making my way into work was to make a lunch. Instead, I would always pick up a lunch from Whole Foods on my way to work, usually sushi. My floor had its own break room and fridge. For the first 6 months that I worked there, nothing ever went missing until we got a batch of university office interns in, paid interns. Then, wouldn't you know it, lunches started to go missing, and it wasn't just my lunch that was taken. Any lunch and store packaging disappeared, whether there was a name on it or not. Well, after 2 weeks of our lunches just walking away, we were all getting sick and tired of the issue. Don't flipping mess with my salmon sashimi. One of the engineers told us that he had come up with an idea to solve our lunch problem and asked everyone to throw in a couple of dollars to end the situation. The following week, he sent a text to all of us store-buying lunch people asking us to meet in the break room before work, and also sent a text to everyone in the office to not touch any of the packaged lunches. When we met up, he took out this little spray bottle and told us to spray the packaging on our lunches. It was a special spray that reacted to black light, meaning when it is seen under black light, then it glowed, but otherwise in normal light, it is completely undetectable. Guess what happened when lunch rolled around that day? That's right, every single packaged lunch was gone. Perfect. The time had come to find our culprit. The engineer brought out a black light and began to look for fingerprints. He found them on the door that led down the hall to the elevator. Now, imagine 5 of the super nerdiest engineers you have ever seen going down a hallway with a black light like something out of a discount CSI episode. They find fingerprints everywhere, leading right up to the elevator. Then in the elevator on the button to take us to the 2nd floor. All this time, I had been thinking that it was some of the interns that were nicking our lunches, but I was wrong. We followed the trail and it led us right to the desk of the head of the sales department. When we demanded to see his hands, it turned out that they were flipping glowing like crazy, not to mention this glowing mess covering his face where he had touched it. The guy knew he was caught fair and square, and he asked us not to go to HR about it. We took pictures of him glowing as evidence, and then we did come to an arrangement not to go to HR. As payment for our silence, we got pizza for everyone on our floor every Friday for the next 2 months. We stayed extra late that day to print out copies of the photo showing the glowing mess that was his face. We printed at least 100 of them with the caption, "Dirty, dirty lunch thief." Then we posted those darn things up everywhere. The bathrooms, all the entryways of the building, every office door and desk in sight. Needless to say, the lunches stopped going missing and I was finally able to eat my sushi in peace once again. I worked there for 2 years after this. The guy never got fired or punished, but he did get made fun of for this and received the permanent nickname, the Lunch Thief. This is John from /Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to be the first to know when the next one drops, subscribe and click on that notifications bell. We would love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.